Hey everybody.
Hi everybody.
Sean and Allison here from Spoken Garden. Today we wanted to talk to you about when you should and shouldn't remove mulch in your garden.
And this would be great if you're in the process of trying to decide what type of mulch you have, or just in the planning phase for the spring overall.
Yep. So we're going to go over why it's important and what you should do.
Video 4 in our spring mulching series, we've talked about the intro to mulching, we talked about types of mulch, and last week Sean showed you how to calculate how much mulch you actually will need for a bed. So today we're going to talk about something maybe you haven't considered, and it depends on what type of mulch you actually want to order or want to spread. Do you need to remove it before you add new mulch?
So yeah, why is it important? Why should you think about maybe removing the old mulch that you have before you add new mulch? Well, it comes down to what you're actually doing and what your goals are. So a couple of examples that we're going to go over today are replacing mulch that you already have with, same for same, and then replacing mulch that you have for something different. So first off, the first example, same for same, we've got arborist mulch. You already know if you've watched our other videos. We like arborist mulch.
We love arborist mulch.
It's great stuff. It adds nutrients to the soil. It builds the soil structure. It keeps your plants healthy. It suppresses weeds, and it just looks nice. It looks good. It looks natural, and that's why we like it. So if you have arborist mulch and you just want to replace it, the question is, do you need to remove what you already have? And the answer is no, you don't. Even if it's coming from a different source, arborist mulch is really just more arborist mulch. And you're going to get the same benefits of arborist mulch if you leave what you have in place, bury it, and cover it with more arborist mulch, even from a different source, because what's happening is you're just continuing the process of this mulch breaking down and adding more nutrients to your soil, building soil structure, and suppressing weeds. It's still doing that, and you're just perpetuating that and helping with the breakdown of the older material that you're covering by covering with the new material.
In our other video, you talked about how thick the thickness of the mulch matters. We know that we already need to replace this. We talked about that last week. But how do they know? Like, what is an actual thickness of mulch that people should go by?
Yeah, great question. And what you need to do is come out to your garden and look at how thick your mulch actually is. We found out from our previous episode, our previous video, that we had a ½ inch thick of mulch here. We like to have 3 inches of mulch total. So we found out that we needed to add 2.5 more inches of mulch after we dug down. And all you do is just kind of take your hand trowel or shovel and dig down and remove the mulch and see how far down you go to actual bare dirt. We have ½ an inch here, and we need to add 2.5 more inches.
And didn't we were thinking of ordering from Chip Drop, right? And
yeah, we are. So we went online, and now we're in the process of ordering some mulch.
But we're not sure if this is actually going to work right now, or with the coronavirus going on. We're actually in a shelter in place in Washington State right now. So they're not essential, right? No, so it's probably going to be a while.
Yeah, we'll probably put in our request, and it probably won't come for a little while, and we're okay with that. Yeah. Everything's looking pretty decent out here, and our plants are staying really healthy so far, so we're not going to worry about it too much. So everybody, this is when you replace like with like. You don't have to remove this mulch or like with like, because you're going to get the same, you're going to get more of the same. And if that's okay with the goals of your garden, then you don't have to remove the mulch you already have before you add new mulch.
I asked Sean about bark mulch because I know a lot of people like using bark mulch. It kind of has a different color to it. So what would you do in the case of bark mulch? What if people want to lay this down?
So great question. And so two different scenarios here. If you're going to take the bark mulch and add it to this bed, but you were concerned about whether you should remove or keep the arborist mulch you already have, if it was me, I would keep the arborist mulch that we already have, because it's still going to break down underneath this bark mulch, and it's still going to provide soil nutrition and good soil structure, and it's still going to be useful as a weed suppressant. Now, if it was reversed and we were going to add, if we had beauty bark down and we were going to add the arborist mulch over the top of that, or we were concerned if we should remove this first and then add the arborist mulch, if it was me, I would remove the bark and then I would add the mulch. And the reason for that is because usually when people add this mulch, there's an underlying tone of they want to increase the nutrition of their plants, they want to increase the nutrition of the soil, and they want to build soil structure. If you still have the beauty bark down and then you lay the arborist mulch over the top of it, over time this bark is going to still continue to lower the pH of your soil and make it more acidic. Now, that's considering if your plants can take that and if they'll adapt to that. If you know they don't and they like a more neutral soil, what you'll need to do is definitely remove this, remove the beauty bark, and then add the arborist mulch, because you don't want to have the soil continue to decrease in pH.
Makes sense.
So that's a good example of what I would do in that situation. So now we're going to show you an example of rock mulch and replacing same with same, and then go over replacing the rock mulch with something different like arborist mulch or bark. So here we go. So hey everybody, we've changed positions now and we're right by the house in the backyard, and we're by one of our garden beds. We've got our Aurelia plant here. It's looking nice and healthy. We've also got some bulbs over here just below it. And you can also see we've got our crushed marble rock here in this garden, and it's beautiful. It really pops when you have all this greenery and then you have this white background just below it. And so here's a case where we would replace this rock with more rock for same, and we wouldn't have to remove this rock to add more on top of it, because our goal with this bed is the same. This rock is providing a nice mulch. We're not worried about the nutritional value or anything of the soil below it, because that's fine. We've already updated that before we put this in, and we're not worried about soil pH or anything like that. Nice and healthy in here. So we want to replace like with like. We don't have to remove any of this before we add more to refresh it, and that's pretty cool. That's nice. It's less work, right? Now, if we wanted to add more soil nutrition in here and add our arborist mulch per se, what we would do is we would have to remove this rock, because now we would have a barrier. If we were to come in and put arborist mulch right over the top of this, now the arborist mulch has a barrier between it and the actual soil beneath it, and that can create some issues with drainage and soil nutrition, and you're basically putting a filter over the top of your soil where you don't need one, and then you're going to run into issues with that nutrition getting down into the soil. So in that aspect, we would remove this rock to make sure we're getting contact between the new arborist mulch and the soil for plant nutrition and health. So that's one example. Another example is if we wanted to replace this rock with pebble or river rock. And so in that example, what's going to happen is you'd want to remove this still, because over time that rock will settle over the top of this, and this will come through. It just happens when you got rock on rock or different materials. Something below it usually does pop back up through over time, and so you'd want to remove this, because if you don't, it's gonna look goofy. It's gonna look different, and it's not gonna give you the look that you're actually looking for, more than likely. So one rock for another rock, it's always good just to remove what you got and then put in the new stuff. And so there's two examples of why you should or shouldn't remove any existing mulch before you add new mulch. So hopefully you found that useful. Click on the thumbs up to tell us if you like the video or not. Comment below and let us know what you're doing in your yard, and definitely subscribe so you get updates on all our new content coming out in videos. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you later, okay? Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.